And is there any way I can get a better focus on this thing? Autofocus. Not really. Yeah, I think it's as good as it's going to get right now. Okay, so they have the quick quiz problems. There are 10 of them. They're all multiple choice. But I think it might be like a little more beneficial to go over maybe like 3, 5, and 7 first. So we're looking at 3. Who do I want to pick on? Sorry, I guess I'll go top bottom. Anaisa, are you around?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so number 3 asks, what are exemptions and deductions? How should you choose between taking the standard deduction and itemizing deductions?
So I guess exemptions is like some sort of I kind of want to say they're the same thing, but I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
more sure.
it's pretty much the same thing. They're gonna happen at the same time.
It's like removal of some sort of amount of money, like if you have
And do you do that before or after you like calculate the tax? I guess is the important question.
you do that before.
Yeah, it's before you take your calculation. You're gonna remove your exemptions and deductions. And how should you choose between like taking the standard or the itemized?
Whichever one is more of a.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a super complicated question. Whew. I'm giving you all these solutions.
Wait, before anything, my book has different questions for these numbers. Like I've got the book that's linked on the Blackboard, and they're different questions.
I pulled these from the book on Blackboard, so I'm not sure why.
Oh.
We're not doing the quick quiz. We're doing the straight to the.
Yeah, we're doing the exercises first.
Oh, okay. I got you. That's right.
Yeah. And so if we do the first 3 exercises, it will actually answer a lot of the quick quiz questions. And so I would rather go over the exercises because you have to explain the exercises and the quick quiz. And if we explain these, we'll have the explanation for the quick quiz. Is basically what I'm trying to get at. I am recording. Okay, good. And so who's next? Andrea, are you around?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So number 5, this asks, what is the difference between a tax deduction and a tax credit? Why is a tax credit more valuable? And so what's the difference between like taking a deduction and then taking a credit off your taxes? So they're both things coming off your tax. But like, what is the main difference?
The tax credit reduces your tax owned by the amount of the credit.
Yeah, that's true. And then the deduction, is it going to be the exact deduction amount when you reduce it? In the end, after you do your calculations and everything, are you getting that full deduction off, or is it only a portion of it?
A portion?
Yeah, it's only a portion. So you're getting the full tax credit off, but like the deduction is a portion. So part of that is because of when you take it off, right? And so like your deduction is coming off before you're calculating your taxes, and then your tax credit is coming off after you calculate how much taxes you owe. And so what did I say? Tax deduction is taken out before tax is calculated. Tax credit is removed out of the taxes you owed after your calculation. And so I said something here. You get the full amount of the tax credit, and you only get a portion of the deductible, right?
Yeah.
Is that Andrea? Brittany, are you around? I think she went.
Yes, I'm here. I'm having trouble hearing. You keep cutting out a bit, but I can hear
Okay.
most of what you're saying.
Well, tell me what FICA is and what type of income is subject to FICA.
So the FICA is calculated on all of your wages.
Mhm.
No adjustments, exceptions, or deductions
Yep.
are taken away from that, or when calculating it.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a big definition in the notes. So y'all have already gone through this sort of, but it's the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. It's calculated on your wages, tips. If you're self-employed, it calculates double. So pretty much everything you're just saying is like pretty much goes to pay for like social programs, welfare sort of stuff. So it's wages, tips, self-employed income. It does not include like those capital gains, right? So now I probably flashed them all. Solutions. And so we have a few multiple guess problems. God, one's almost too easy. I don't want to give anybody that. The total amount of income you receive is called your gross income. It's not your net income. It's not your taxable. So that's just vocabulary. I don't want to spend too much time. 2 says if your taxable income 25% marginal tax bracket, your taxes are 25% of your taxable income, your taxes 25% of your gross income, or your taxes 25% of only a portion of your income. The rest is taxed at a lower rate. And so this is getting at how do our taxes sort of work. Who's around? Brittany, that was an easy question. So part 2 or question 2, if you are in the taxable income, or if your taxable income puts you in the 25% marginal tax bracket, what does that mean about your sort of overall tax rate? Or what does that 25% mean? Is it A, B, or C?
Did you ask that to me again?
Yeah, I was gonna see if you could pick this one up.
Okay, what number was it?
Quick quiz question 2.
A.
Okay. So this is getting at the whole like stair step sort of thing that's happening, right?
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. C.
I'm sorry, my dog's barking. Did you answer that? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, C.
Yeah, it'd be C. So when we talk about marginal taxes, and I have that table around here somewhere. Do I have it? Might be the last page of it. So we're looking at this sort of table. And so if you're in the 25% bracket, only from what 37,950 to 91,900 would get taxed, that 25%. And so I know you've probably seen these calculations getting crunched, but that's what that sort of thing means, right? It's only like this portion of your money is getting taxed. Anything lower than that is getting taxed less. And so that is why they're saying number 2 is C. And so who's next? Dina, are you around?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so I think 3.
Can you read it
And-
to me?
Okay, so 3 and 4. 3 says, suppose you are in the 25% marginal tax bracket. Then a tax credit of 1,000 will reduce your tax bill by A is 1,000, B is 150, and C is 500.
If I'm in the 25% margin,
Yeah,
and then you said you reduce it by $1,000.
but it's a tax credit is the key word here.
Okay, let me look. So wouldn't it be reduced by $1,000?
That's it.
Okay.
That's exactly it. And so they're trying to kind of mislead you here a little bit, probably, maybe, you know.
I
Well,
think you're going into another bracket, but you're not.
yeah, I mean, well, they're trying to get you, are you doing 25% of the $1,000? No, you're not, because this is a tax credit, right? And then this next question, they say something like, and this is like sort of compare and contrast 3 and 4 here. And so suppose you are in a 15% marginal tax bracket, and it gives you earn 25K, then a tax deduction of 1,000 will reduce your tax by how much? And so you're in a 15% bracket and you have a deduction of 1,000. How much is your total tax bill going to be reduced by? And they're giving you the options of 1,000, 150, and 500 again. And so in this one, it's just straightforward, right? It's just if we take a credit of 1,000 and we get the 1,000 off. But if we do a deduction, what number is that going to give you?
Are you still asking me this?
Yeah, I was hoping you were still there.
Oh. Yeah, I'm still here. But in again?
So you're doing 15% margin, and then it's $1,000 that you're doing.
So then would I be deducting, because it's not a credit, I would be deducting 15% from the $1,000? And that would be my total?
You would be.
Because
I
it's
think
different?
you got the right idea. I think you just said it a little bit weird. You're deducting 15% of the $1,000, right? And so,
So
we do.
it would be $150.
Yeah, that's it. It's B. And so you're deducting 15% of 1,000 will give you 150. And so this is a sort of compare and contrast thing. If they're talking about a credit of $1,000, you're taking the full $1,000 off. If they're talking about a deduction of $1,000, then you have to know your marginal tax rate. It's going to come off the highest end of your taxes. So it's going to come off this 15% bracket. And they're also they're kind of relying on the fact that if we reduce this by 1,000%, it's not going to go like below the critical numbers that they have on their table, right? It's kind of in there. I don't think we're going to give you anything that complicated that's going to do anything that crazy. They're kind of making that assumption in there. So it might be worth noting. Who's next? Ian? I think
What number are we on?
5 and 6, I think, is where we're going.
For 5,
So suppose that in the past year, your only deductible expenses were $5,000 in mortgage interest and $2,000 in charitable contributions. If you are entitled to a standard deduction of $6,350, then the maximum total deduction you can claim is
it would be B.
Yeah, so it says 6,350, 7,000, or 13,350. And you say B at 7,000, And so this is the sort of like,
7,000.
yeah, that's what you said. And so this question, what they're getting at here is like, are we doing standard or are we doing itemized deduction? And so you're looking at standard deduction of 6,350, and then you have to do some adding to get your itemized deduction. 5,000 and 2,000 is going to give me 7,000. So you have a choice between 7,000 and 6,350. Guess which one I'm going to pick to take off my taxes? I'm going to pick that 7,000. My internet connection is unstable, is what the team was telling me. So I'm going to write my hate letter to Google Fiber, I guess. All right. And then number 6 says, assume you are in the 25% tax bracket and you are entitled to a standard deduction of $6,350. If you have no other deductible expenses, by how much will a $1,000 charitable contribution reduce your tax bill?
Nothing. A.
Yeah, and so this, they're trying to be a little tricky. Is it nothing? Is it $250 or is it $1,000? It is nothing, and a little bit of explanation of why it's nothing is they're telling you you're taking a standard deduction. If we make a charitable contribution, what does that go towards? That's going to go towards an itemized deduction. So this is only beneficial if you're doing itemized deductions. And so since we're not doing itemized deductions, this is not doing a whole lot for us. It's doing nothing for us. Okay, who's next? Jason, are you around?
I'm here. Can you repeat that, please?
All right, I hadn't started. I was just making sure you're there. Okay, so 7 and 8. What is FICA tax? Is it a tax on investment income? Is it another name for the marginal tax rate? Or is it a tax collected primarily to fund Social Security and Medicare?
It's for SSI Medicare.
Yeah, so SSI, Social Security, Medicare, right? So 7 is C. 8 says, based on the rates of 2017, which of the following people pays the highest percentage of his or her income in FICA taxes? Joe, whose income consists of $12,000 from his job at Burger Joint. Kim, whose income is $175K in wages from her aeronautical engineer. Or David, whose income is $1 million in capital gains from investments. So this one was a little tricky. I had to go back.
The 175,000. But
I'm hoping like right away, I'm hoping like you're not going to say C, right?
No, the capital gains guy doesn't pay any.
Yeah, he doesn't pay anything. And
The
so
$1
then
million
you're thinking,
guy, the guy that's getting $1 million off, he doesn't pay anything.
and so then you're thinking between A and
So
B,
it's-
and what I didn't hear what you said because it kind of cut out a little bit.
Is it the read B again?
And so Kim, she has a job where she makes $175,000 in wages from her job as an aeronautical engineer. So basically, one of them's making $1,200.
Yeah, so she would pay the most.
So one of them's making $12,000, and then she's making $175,000. So they ask, what is the highest percentage, which is a little bit weird. And this goes back to.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it would be. I don't really like this question.
it's
too
the
much,
same
to be
either way.
honest. It says in the book, and I'll grab it. I don't like this question too much, but it should be A. Joe is actually going to pay a higher percentage, and we'll show you in just a second as soon as I get to that page. FICA says something.
Is that what the book says? Is it answer A?
Yeah, I don't really like this question that much.
Okay. Yeah, it's sneaky, right? Like Kim's gonna pay
Yeah.
more money. But because some of her income goes over the 127,000 mark,
That's capital gains.
that income over that part is she's only going to pay like 1.45%. So her percentage ends up lower, even though her overall payment's a whole lot more, huh?
Yeah, here's the
Yeah, that
rule
one's
on
pretty
FICA.
sneaky. That's not fair.
Yeah, I don't like that one too much.
Yeah.
So since
Yeah, let's put a couple of those on the test though, okay?
so
Let's
since
put
she
a couple
goes
of
over
tests.
since
That
she
sounds
goes
good.
over this amount, that amount that's over that is going to be taxed at like 1.45%. And so when we average these, we shouldn't really average them like directly, but when you like combine those two rates together, it's going to go down. It's going to be in between these two numbers, right? And so technically, if you make more money,
Yeah.
you're going to pay
So let's
less.
not put that question on any test.
Yeah, I don't like it personally. I'm sorry I gave it to you. You deserve better. I'll give you something better next time. Okay. Now we need to talk about Jerome, Ginny, and Jacqueline. Just happened to find 3 people with alliterative names. Where's Lena? She around? I think she's next on my list. There she is. All right, so 9 and 10. Let's talk about 9 and 10. Jerome, Ginny, and Jacqueline all have the same. Oh, that's horrible to read. All have the same taxable income, but Jerome's income is entirely from wages. Ginny's income is a combination of wages and capital gains, and Jacqueline's is pretty much all long-term capital gains and dividends, whatever. So basically, Jerome is all wages. Ginny is a mix of like wages and short-term gains, and Jacqueline is all long-term gains. If you count both income taxes and FICA, how do their tax bills compare? And so part A said, or option A says they all pay the same. B says Jerome pays the most, Ginny pays second, and Jacqueline is the least. And then the last option says Jacqueline pays the most, Ginny the second most, and Jerome the least. And so this is getting at they all have the same taxable income. And so if their taxable income is the same, then what we're really comparing is their FICA rate, right? Because there's 2 things that we're adding together for their taxes: their taxable income and their FICA rate, and that gives you your total taxes. So what we're really comparing here is their FICA. So they're kind of asking you like, who's paying more, the person with the wages or the person with the capital gains? Person with the, yeah, you said who pays more, and you said person with wages, yes. So that's basically it. And if you look at that option would be option B on there, I believe. So Jerome is the guy that makes everything from wages. He's going to pay the most. If Ginny's got a split, she's going to be the second most. And then Jacqueline is the last one on there. Yeah, that's it. She does everything from her capital gains. And then the last one for the quick quiz. When you put money into a tax-deferred retirement plan, you never have to pay tax on this money. You pay taxes on this money now, but not when you withdraw. Or you pay tax, you don't pay the taxes now, but you pay it when you withdraw. So I'm hoping after laughing after I read out A, you know that you're going to have to pay money on your retirement plan. Yeah, you're going to have to pay it. It's deferred means you pay it later, and that's what option C is, right? You pay it when you withdraw. Yeah. Here we go. So what is that? Where are we at? 45 minutes in? I feel like we went through this pretty quick. Any questions about anything we said off this quick quiz? Anything you want to go over? Hoping it's all. I know this is kind of like the first, well, besides the video, this is the first time we're kind of talking about it in this class. So it's a lot of information, but it's typically broken up into parts that are more manageable. Okay. We went over that. We went over 357. So if it's a deduction, it's taken out before the calculation. If it's if it's taken out after that, it is I can't even speak anymore. Tax credit. That's what I'm looking for. So where are we at? I think we did 1 through 10. We did 3, 5, 7. And I believe now we are on problem 11. Okay. Next one here. Narcy, are you around?
Yes, I'm here.
There she is. All right. So number 11, it says decide whether each of the following statements makes sense, or is clearly true, or does not make sense, or is clearly false. Explain your reasoning. Assume 27 tax rates and policies. Okay. So number 11 says we're both single and have no children, and both have the same total gross income. So we must pay the same amount in taxes. So is that necessarily true? Does it have to be
I
true?
think it makes sense.
Listening. And
No.
so if you're talking about total gross income, well, it's kind of like, what was that, 10 that we just did?
Yeah.
No, it was 9 that we did, right? They all had the same taxable income, but they all got their money through like different means, right? And so we look at their total taxes. Is that what they're saying?
Mhm.
Both single have no total gross. So is it necessary that they will pay the same amount? And I think you've already kind of got it right. No. And so there's a lot of things that could kind of determine that. And I broke down a few. And so there's exemptions and deductions that they could have made that are different. If someone's like making more, putting more money to charity, and they're doing itemized deductions. If they have anything tax credit withheld from their paycheck that you have to figure out later, that could make it different. And so there's a few different things. There's a few different things that can make these amounts different, right? And that's 11. If you stick around, where am I? We can talk about 17. So 17 is a kind of a weird one. It says I'm self-employed and earn a total of $10,000 last year. Yet I still have to pay 15.3 of my income taxes. And so I will give you a little hint with 17. If he's making 10,000 and then you take off the standard deduction and exemption, his income tax should be 0% or $0, which is 0%. But he's still having to pay 15.3% taxes. And I'll give you a hint. This is a true statement. It says it in the back. But like, where is this 15.3% coming from if it's not from the income tax? That's what I'd be more interested in hearing your answer. Oh. Clanging. Darcy still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. All right. Someone in my room. Okay. So if they're paying 15.3% in taxes, and this is not coming from income tax, where would that be coming from? Is that a confusing question? Maybe. I don't know.
That's why I know, like, if you have a business, you have to do like taxes from there, don't you?
Yeah, so the business taxes, right?
Like any deductions that they like employees have.
So I like it kind of cut it in and out a little bit, but I think I heard the right sort of thing. So it's coming from when you're a business, you have to pay. Yeah, you have to pay your FICA, right? And so when you're a business, you have to pay your FICA, and so the FICA is 7.65%.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you do employee and if you're self-employed, then you're doing employee and employer, right? You're doing it twice, and so that's where that 15.3% is coming from in that problem.
Right.
And so even though he's not getting his income taxed, he's only making 10K a year. That's not even enough to live off of anything, really. But he's not making that much. So he's not coming from income tax, but he still has to pay FICA, right?
Yes.
And that's where that 15.3 comes from. And so that one's making sense, is what they're saying. Okay. Marcy, Patrick. Yeah. So in this next one, they want you to find gross income, adjusted gross income, and then taxable income. Okay. Okay. So 19. Antonio earned wages of $47,200, received $2,400 in interest from a savings account, contributed $3,500 to a tax-deferred retirement plan. He was entitled to a personal exemption of $4,050 and took a standard deduction of $6,350. So that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Throw at someone. But the first thing is they want to know gross income.
That's just everything he made that year, right?
Everything he made. So they're kind of giving you an order. So they're not being completely like what do I want to say? They're not being completely crazy. So we look at those first things.
All right.
What are we combining to get his gross income?
So it would just be the first two, right?
Yeah, the first two numbers, we add them. You should get 49,600. That's it. And then we want adjusted gross income. What do we do with this number?
AGI, that would be
So we take off the adjustments, like what is it? Retirement plans, I believe, tax deferred stuff.
okay. So that would that would be 3,500 to a tax deferred retirement plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we take that off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Take that off.
Uh-huh.
And then
So that's your adjusted gross income.
Would it be the 6350? So that would be the AGI right there.
Yeah,
So
so the
just
AGI is just, yeah, that's
Take
it.
off
After you take your
3,500
savings plan.
from
It's just that one of them.
49,000.
And then the last thing, this is your adjusted gross
Okay, so
income.
that's 46,100.
It's 4,000 and 6,000 is what it is. I think you might be putting an extra zero in there somewhere. Oh wait, are you saying maybe you're saying the right number? I'm looking somewhere else. And so we take adjusted gross income, and then to get taxable income, we have to take off what?
You have to take off the 6,350.
Uh-huh. Is that the only thing?
Okay. And is that from the,
Yeah, so we do take off the 6,350. What about that 4,050?
do what?
What do we do with the personal exemption?
That's an exemption. So wouldn't that be added back on? So it would only be 4,050 or 6,350 minus 4,050, and then whatever the product of that is.
No,
minus
so
the
we're taking
46,000.
we're taking both of those numbers off actually. So those are both coming off of this adjusted gross income. So it should be subtracting both of those. Yeah. And so if we want the taxable income, we have to subtract both of those, and then if we subtract both of those, we're getting our taxable income.
So that would be 46,100 minus 10,400.
Yeah, you could actually, and it's that sort of like you could do maybe like this. Where's it more at? You could do the subtraction with these two things added, right? That's your property. You might see that sort of thing in there, right? We have to, but like, you either have to subtract this and subtract this, or subtract these two things added together, right? Is it doing the same thing? But you're subtracting both of those amounts. It should go down, right, by both of those. So you might have to be a little careful on how you add and subtract things, right?
Yeah, I got this. Okay.
Yes. So make sure you're not throwing in extra negatives where they don't need to be. That'll change your solution.
Yeah, I got okay. Yeah, I got 35,700, just like you got.
Yep, that's it. And so 21, I don't know if you need to hear this, but it looks very similar, right? 21 is the same sort of problem. So if you want to tell me how to get this right quick again. So 21, if I want my adjusted gross, or if I want my gross income, sorry, I'll say it right. If I want my gross income, I'm taking my wages, I'm taking everything I've earned, right? So I'm taking my wages, I'm taking my interest, I'm adding those two things together. So you've kind of already walked me through one. I'll do this one. So I take that 88,750 and I take that 4,900.
Yeah.
I add them together, I get the 93,650, right? And so I take my gross income. Now I want adjusted gross income. There are some adjustments that they're going to give me. And so I believe the adjustment they give me here is the, 6,200 to a tax-deferred retirement plan. So I'm taking that off.
Yes.
You should get what, 87,450? And then the next thing, from going from adjusted gross income.
87,450.
Yep. And then going from adjusted gross income to taxable income, we are doing exemptions and deductions. So we're subtracting 4050, we're subtracting 9050. Did I do that right? did not do that right in my notes. I don't know why I did that. We found mandatory.
$74,350.
Yeah, I didn't do it right. So let me crunch this straight quick.
Okay.
Okay. What is that? 87,450. Thought I checked my solutions for everything in here, but apparently I missed something. Minus 4. What am I doing? 87,450. 450, and I gotta subtract 4050. I have to subtract 9050. 73. I'll say it right.
Yep.
Is that what you got?
I got $74,350.
Yep. That should be it.
Cool. You want me to do another one?
No, I mean we did those two. That's good. Unless you really want to do the next one. I mean, if you stop you.
No, that's okay.
All right. Oh, this one's easy, man. You're missing out here. Okay, so 23, we're trying to decide whether we want itemized or deductible. Oh, man. I don't even want to, like, waste a turn on this one. Your deductible expenditures are $8,600. You have a home mortgage. $700 for contributions to charity, and $645 for state income taxes. Okay, your filing status entitles you to a standard deduction of $12,700. And so I don't think this is super difficult, but we have to do a little bit of calculating. We have to look at these expenditures. These are all things that we can itemize. They're giving us, I believe, 3 different things to itemize. And so if we look at the itemized, it's giving those 3 numbers to itemize. And so what we're doing is we're adding those 3 numbers. And so if I'm looking at 11,945 and I'm comparing the 11,945 to the 12,000, which one of those am I going to take? I hope everyone's going to take that standard deduction because you're going to get more. So don't itemize, take that 12,700. Woo. Okay, so that was 23. Where am I at now? 25. Okay, so 25 was doing the same thing. It says consider their adjusted gross, compute their gross income, adjusted gross income, and taxable income. Use the exemptions and deductions in table 4.9. Explain how you decided whether to itemize deductions or use standard deduction. Okay, so this is what, 25. So where's Richard around? I believe he's the next on the list.
Yeah, I'm here. What was the question number?
All right, 25. So they want us to compute the gross income, adjusted gross income, and taxable income, and then like explain why you did either itemized or standard deduction.
Okay.
So
Just
the
give me
problem-
one quick second.
That's 23. So the problem says
I've
Suzanne
got
is.
the book in front.
All right, I was gonna read it just so everyone has it, sort of. Suzanne is
Okay.
single and earned wages of 33,200. She received 350 in interest from a savings account. She contributed 500 to a tax-deferred retirement plan. She has 450 in itemized deductions from charitable contributions.
So her gross is 33,550.
Yep, we're adding those two numbers to get the 33,550.
And then
The adjusted gross, you have to subtract your adjustments.
you remove the 450.
So the 450 is charity. The 500 would be the tax deferred.
Right. So you remove 950, correct?
So the 450 is not coming up quite yet. So you
Okay, so that's not included. So
the
just
450 is determining whether we're doing standard or itemized. And so for the adjusted, we just want to take away that.
so
500.
you just use the 500.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's 3350.
Yep. So 3350 is what we got
And
now.
then
And now we want to talk about, are you going to do standard or itemized deduction on this?
so the 3350 is the taxable income?
That is adjusted gross income.
Okay, that's the adjusted.
So we still need to take off deductions and exemptions is the next step. And so then to take off the deduction, you have to ask yourself, am I going to do itemized or am I going to do standard?
Okay, so for that you're going to do itemized.
So the itemized is going to give you, how much did it say?
450 in itemized deductions.
Yeah, they're trying to ask you, they didn't do a good job of asking you, but they're trying to ask you, should you take the 450 or should you take the standard deduction, which is, I believe is what, 6350?
Okay, so in that case you take the standard deduction.
You definitely
correct?
take the standard. And so if we take the standard and we take the exemption, so these are things coming from the table, these numbers. See, they asked it really weird, and I don't like the way the question's phrased, because they're like, she's got an itemized deduction. It sounds like they're telling you she's going itemized, but they're asking you whether she is. It's kind of bad wording, to be honest. That's why I have some
So I
scribbles
guess
on my
what it's-
paper. I definitely misunderstood that the first time I read it, to be honest. But they're telling you to make a choice. And you're definitely going to pick the 6,000 over like the 450, right? I believe this is the deduction and this is the exemption.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I was making sure I had those right in my head. You confirm. Okay. And so if we take those off, I believe it should be what, 22,650?
How much was the standard again? 6350?
Yeah, and that's just coming from this table, right? 6350 and 4050, I believe, for the single.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right, I can't see it. What was the number? What was that final number you got?
Should be 22,650 is what I'm getting.
Okay, wait. I got 26,250. Oh, okay, because I did 450, not 4,050. Okay.
Okay. And then we kind of answered, you want the standard deduction in there, yeah. Okay, so we did that one. Who's next? Romeo? Is there Romeo around?
Yeah, I'm here.
He's here. Where are we at? 33? Okay, so 33, it says use the marginal tax rate in the table to compute the tax owed in each of the following situations. Okay. And so these are going to require a little bit of setup. Trying to think about how to ask you questions about this. It's a bit like heavy on the notation, so I don't know how I'm going to get at this. So the important kind of key information out of 33 is that he's making the $89,300 and he's filing head of household. And so if I want to do head of household, I'm looking down this column and I'm thinking of the number 89,300. And so if I'm thinking about 89,300, what's his marginal tax rate? What's the highest bracket we're going to go up into? If we look at 89,000, it's definitely going past 13. It's going past 50. It is larger than 50. So if I see 89,000, what it looks like to me is it's falling in here between these numbers. And so what's the highest tax bracket that he's going to get charged? I think that's probably one of the first things to kind of observe.
I guess 50, like you said, right?
So this might be a little tricky. So up to 1350 is going to get charged there. Up to 50 is going to get charged here. He's actually going to get some of his wages charged at what rate?
I can't really say, that's kind of blurry. I don't have the book.
It'd be the 25. So it goes 10, 15, 25. And so it will actually push him over to the 25%. So he will have a little bit of money that's getting charged at 25%.
So maybe around 28% he would get charged? Close to 25? Could you say a little bit?
It's 25.
Okay.
And so one way I sort of look at this, 13,350. $200. I got enough room to write it. Oh man. Or maybe do this like picture I'm having it in my head. And we're starting at 0. Here. And so this is sort of maybe the picture that I have in my head. Everywhere that he's makes 0 to 13,350, that's going to get charged at a 10% rate. Everything in here is going to get charged at 15%, right? And so I'm putting that number 89,300 in there. And so if I'm putting that in there, and so if we're doing 89,300, it's actually falling into that 25% tax bracket. And so if I'm thinking about this, if I want to do 10% of the first $13,350, maybe can I get this both on here at the same time? This is the sort of picture in my head. if I want to do this first 10%, I'm going from 0 to 13,350. So if I want to know how many numbers are between 0 and 13,350, I subtract those two numbers. You might notice I'm subtracting 0 here. That's not really going to do anything, right? I'm just taking the first 13,000 numbers, subtracting 0. I'm trying to get at the formula that's there, sort of. We're going from 0 to 13,350, and we're taxing this at 10% rate. The next thing is the 15% rate. So what gets 15%? Everything from what? 13,350 to 50,800. So I want to take those two numbers. I want to subtract the larger one from the smaller one. That's going to get me that tax rate on that bracket. And then the 25%, I'm going from 50,000 to the 89,000. And so this looks like 25%, and I'm multiplying that by, I hope Romeo didn't run away. What numbers should go here?
I'm still here.
All right. What numbers should go here?
Would it be the 89,300 minus?
Yeah, that's it. The 50, yeah, the 5,800. Is that what you're going to say? I kind of interrupted you there a little bit, I think.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Okay, so I think that is the setup. This is something that I know there's a lot of information in the section, but this is something I think is doable for your class. I think this is something that's doable for y'all. I'm hoping you can take something away from this. You should be able to do the sort of tax brackets calculations. And so I crunch these numbers. It's just a bunch of number crunching. Maybe you might want to do PEMDAS. Might be a point of confusion here, but we want to do the subtraction before we do the multiplication. And so I think I did that in my next step. So subtract those numbers. You should get those numbers. 1335. I think I already multiplied this one through. Subtract these two numbers, you should get 37,450. Subtract those two numbers, 38,500. Okay. And then PEMDAS tells me next step is to multiply before I add those numbers. So I multiply those numbers, and then I add those numbers. And I believe he's getting what, 16,577.50 in his tax.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And so this was his total income tax. And it said something like he already had $1,000 tax credit. And so if we're taking off, what, $1,000 tax credit is the last thing that we're going to do. That should give us, what, 15,577.50? So that's how much he's going to owe. So I'm hoping y'all can get this sort of thing set up, right? Look at that table, be able to sort of set up a elevated sort of tax plan like this, right? Have them tax brackets. In the end, just taking off the tax credit, that's just something you got to remember to do in the end, right? I don't think that's that's not the big part of this one, you know? Okay. So that is 33. Now we need to look at, there's another similar one. I believe the next one is 35. Yep. $335 is very similar. So I think I'll just walk through 35. I almost said the number. So 35, the key information you want to take away from 35 is that we're making $105,500. They're married, filing jointly. MFJ. So if I look at where the 105 is going to be, I believe it's putting it right in here. And so this was the question I asked previously. If it's going right in here, it is going up to that next one, right? We are in this tax bracket. We're in this next marginal tax bracket of 25%. So the highest number that we should be multiplying by is that 25%. So if we want to set this up, the first, $18,650 that you're going to make is going to get taxed at 10%. Should be that 18,650, and that amount is getting taxed at 10%. The next number we're going up to is 75,900. So we're not taxing this 18,650 again. We don't want to double tax it. So everything from 18,650, I guess I could write out sort of table. Is doing a timeline sort of thing. And so doing this sort of thing helps you. This might help get those sort of brackets together, right? And we want to go to, what number was it? 105,500 is the number I want to go up to. It should fall right in there somewhere, right? And so I've already kind of done 18,650 minus 0. You don't really need to do the minus 0. The next thing is the 15%. What gets taxed at 15%? It's that higher number minus that lower number. So that's the next bracket. And then a really common error people will do is they will go to this next bracket. So we do not want to go to this number. We want to go to this number. So this is our top, this is our max, this is how much we got taxed, right? That's our taxable income. And so we want to do 105,500 minus the 75,900. And so just to sort of re-emphasize, your taxable, let me bring this down a little bit. Your taxable income was 105,500. You should see this number, your taxable income, it should be somewhere in here, right? It should be right here. I do not want to see this 153 in there, right? So a lot of times people will try to go up to the 153 and plug it in here. We don't have any money in between here and here. This is our taxable income, and we're cutting it off here. So really common error is to go up to that next number. Don't do it. Keep it at your taxable income. We're only getting taxed as much as our taxable income. This should be the highest number on there, right? We're going from 0 to 18,650. This goes from 18,650 to the 75,900. And the last one from 75,900 up to our taxable amount. So we do these brackets. If you get it set up this way, I will give you like most credit for this thing probably. Like this is the hardest sort of part is getting these brackets set up. Everything else is just doing PEMDAS from here. So we have to subtract those two numbers. We have to multiply. So I believe I did some subtraction and multiplication. Then the last thing we should be adding each of those little brackets, right? This is the amount tax from the first bracket. That's the amount we got from the tax from the second bracket. We add up all our brackets. That should be giving us our total tax. And so we have our total tax. The only other thing that we have to do is consider tax credits. So if we do the $2,000 tax credit, we take it off. It's going to bring that down to what, $15,852.50. I think I'm missing. I really should put another zero in there because we're talking about money. Sorry. Okay.
Mr. Stevers,
Yeah.
what does it say next to your minus 2,000 and then your actual what you get after you took that subtract it? What are those words? Yeah.
So this says
Credit.
total. This says total tax. This says credit, and this is how much your taxes that you owe.
Oh, okay.
I guess it should say income tax, right? Not total tax. It should probably say income tax, to be honest. I think that's the vocabulary they use. That was your total from your income tax. And we take away the credit, and then that'll give us the amount of taxes that we still owe. I believe there should be another one. Do I have that? No. I believe there should be another one of these sorts of problems in your homework. So definitely, I would try to get this sort of thing down. How to do these sorts of brackets, right? This is something, and like I'm saying, this is usually what throws people off. How to put money on something. So that's something you're gonna have to practice yourself and get this down. I don't know how else to do it. This is math. It's not a spectator sport, right? You gotta get some practice in on yourself somehow. If you need help, I'll have office hours tomorrow. Have office hours next day. But definitely something I would get down before the test. Okay. Okay, so that's 35. Who's next? Tina? Is Tina around?
Yeah, I'm here.
I believe the next one is 37. Okay. 37 says, determine how much the following individuals or couples will save in tax credits or deductions. Oh, we can do 37 and 39, I bet. They kind of go back to back. So 37 says, That is blurry. Midori and Tremaine are in 28% tax bracket, and they take a deduction. How much will their tax bill be reduced if they qualify for a $500 tax credit? So if it's $500 and it's a tax credit, how much do they get out of that?
It will just have to be 20% out of 500.
So they're talking about a tax credit, and so I'm hoping the words, like when you read it, that stick out. Are we talking about a credit or a deduction?
Deduction.
It
Credit.
says credit. And so if it's a credit, do we get the full amount or is it a portion of it?
A portion.
No, credit comes out afterwards. It should be getting the full amount. So if they're getting a $500 tax credit, how much are they getting out of that? All of it. Okay.
All of it?
Yeah. All of it, the $500. They're getting the $500. $500 tax credit is $500 off your taxes. If they're getting a, what's the next thing? What's 39 say? If they're getting if they're in the 15% and they're getting a $1,000, wait, oh no, let's read this whole thing. This one's a little tricky, sorry. Rosa is in the 15% tax bracket. She takes the standard deduction. How much will her tax bill be reduced if she makes a $1,000 charitable contribution? And so they're being a little tricky because they give you she's in the 15% bracket and she's making a $1,000 contribution. And so the thing you want to do, I want you to say it. Go ahead and do it.
Let me see.
If she's in the 15% bracket and it's a $1,000 contribution, how would you do that?
I would just have to multiply the 15%.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're trying to lead you into, and I'm glad you said it. But there's a little trick that they're trying to pull on you here. You would probably think it was like 150 that you're gonna get, but there's a little trick they're doing here. They're taking a standard deduction, and that $1,000 to charity only happens if you're taking an itemized deduction. So they're being a little tricky here. And so we do $1,000. That's only working for itemized deductions, and we're taking a standard deduction.
So you just get nothing.
Yeah, you're getting nothing. And so that's pretty much it. So if you're taking a tax credit and it's a $500 tax credit, you're going to go at $500. If you're doing charitable contributions, that's only going to work if you're doing itemized deductions. So you're getting nothing. Okay. What do we got? 3 more problems left? This is like I'm pretty sure this is like one of the longest assignments they've given you. It's got quite a few of them. Okay, and then the last thing, now they're trying to bring it all home. If we're in the 28% bracket, is that what we're saying? We're in that 28% bracket and we take a $1,000. So we're in the 28% bracket. It is itemized this time. And you're doing $1,000 to charity. This is absolutely where you would multiply those two things. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Oops. But this is where you would do the 28% of the 1,000. You're actually only getting 280 out of that thing. So they're being a little tricky with, what was that, 39? I feel like 39 is a little tricky. 37 and 41, I feel like those are a little more straightforward sort of things. Questions about these? What are we doing? So this is the whole like doing the deduction versus the credit. And then they're also comparing standard and itemized deduction, right? Okay. 45. "45 says, consider the following choices between paying rent and making house payments, including the amount paid by taking your interest deduction. In both cases, okay, blah, blah, blah. A lot of information. Maria is in the 33% tax bracket. Steve is in the 15% tax bracket. They each itemize their deductions and pay $10,000 in mortgage interest during the year. Compare their true cost for mortgage interest. How does your answer change if 50% Steve does not? Did I do this? Yeah, I did. Okay. How does your answer change if, like most people in the 15% bracket, Steve does not itemize? And so what they're trying to do is to get you to compare the true cost of this mortgage payment. I know they're trying to do here. I don't feel like wasting a whole lot of time on this problem, to be honest. So if you're making a $10,000, do you have a comment?
Was that me?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh yeah. I didn't know you can see my mic switch that quick.
Yeah.
This is a tough one to discuss. The math in it is super easy, but the discussion of like what is actually happening with it is complicated. I think I did a pretty decent job with it in the video.
Okay.
So if this one you don't want to like, I mean, you can give it a shot and try and describe it, but I know exactly what you're thinking here. Calculation is super easy, but it's kind of thinking about what it feels like what you're paying or what it feels like what you're saving when you write it off, because you still pay some, but you get back like a certain amount. I spent a long time trying to get ready for it when I was going to record that part, so I think I covered it fairly well.
Yeah, and I was also looking at my answer, and I don't think I answered like everything they asked here, to be honest. I was just kind of looking at I just compared the two, to be honest. Like, I don't feel like so what's happening is they're both making a $10,000 payment. But when they're making that $10,000, they can take that $10,000 off of their taxable income. And so if we're doing 33% of $10,000, what we're going to be able to take off of our income sort of is going to be, we're making a $10,000 payment, but we're taking this much off of our taxes. And so if we want to think about the true cost that Maria has to pay, it's going to be what, $6,700. And then the same thing with Steve. If he's doing 15%, the true cost of that one is going to be the what, $8,500. And so if they got to make mortgage payments, this is going to be the quote unquote like true cost. So it's the amount that they're paying minus the sort of tax break that they're getting is what we're doing here. And so they're doing this with mortgage payments. Another thing that like I've seen this book do is they will do this with charitable contributions, right? And so I know in the book, one of their examples is probably like a charitable contribution of like, they're going to compare someone that makes around like probably 30K to like a millionaire, right? And so if we compare those two things, you can actually see like people that make around the more average sort of wage, they're actually going to be paying more of that money. The true cost of their charity is actually going to be more than someone that makes millions of dollars. Because someone that makes millions of dollars is going to get more money off their taxes by donating to charity. So I don't know. Sometimes you hear like all these things about these benevolent millionaires or something like that. I don't know. I remained a bit skeptical. Most of them are not giving away like near as much as like the working class tends to do. But there's a little bit of quantitative justification for that feeling, I think, with something like this. So that is 45. That is comparing their true cost. That is if they both itemize things. If he doesn't itemize things, what is it? If he doesn't itemize it, then he doesn't get that. He's paying the full 10,000, I believe. Okay. That is 45. 49. For each of the following individuals, calculate the FICA tax and income taxes to obtain the total tax owed. Then find the overall tax rate and gross income, including both FICA and income taxes. Assume that all individuals are single and take the standard deduction. Use tax rates in table 4.9. Okay. So I want each of you to spend some time answering this. I think I've pretty much gone through everyone, and I might have to pick on Javier later or something, but I've pretty much gone through everyone on the roll. I want you to practice this. I'm at 50, 49, 50, 3 more problems. Okay, so for 49, I will start you off. I will start you off in the right direction with the FICA. So I don't know if we've done a FICA example yet. I think I'll just start you off with there. So if we do FICA, we want it on just that income. So he talks about his wages, and then he talks about some stuff from interest. We just want the wages. So we're going to do the 7.65% on just his wages. That is the first thing that we're figuring out. That is his FICA. The 34,2720 is what I'm getting. That is something that we haven't quite done yet. They're going a little different direction. The other things you should be able to do. You should be able to find his gross income. You should be able to find the taxable income, subtract exemptions and deductions, and then you should be able to tax that taxable income. Put it in those brackets. Going back to the table. The table. They're telling us single. What number are we doing? Number 49. '49ers. So it should be working through 49. I'll give y'all just a minute. Okay. Hoping you're getting this for your gross income, 4650. Gross income, it's nasty. Subtract your standard deduction and exemption. I'm hoping you're doing your taxes on that amount. 35,650. I'll put these both. So if you have to do a little number line, that might help you do the number line. Start at 0. 9325 should be that first bracket. That's the 10% bracket. So from 0 to 9325, it's in 10%. 9325 to the 37, it's in the 15. So I believe the highest bracket should be your 15% bracket. We're not going beyond that. Oh, the first thing, 10% on that first 9325, 15% on everything above that from our taxable income to the 9325. We can subtract those numbers. We can multiply those numbers. We can get this total income tax from those brackets. So open question. What is my total tax? What are my total taxes here?
The FICA tax plus your income tax.
That's so FICA tax is separate from income tax.
Oh, okay. Mm,
And so if we want total tax, what do we do with those things?
you add them?
Yeah, we just add those two. So if we add those two, what number do you get?
8,308.
Yeah, that's it. 8308.45 is what I'm getting. And so they want to know total tax, and then I think the last thing they ask is for the total tax rate. And so we want the total tax rate. This is our total tax. We're going to divide our total tax by our income. So if we take our total tax of what, 8308.45, we divide by our income of the 4650, you should get something like 18%. It'll be a decimal, so I know I already converted my decimal to a percentage. But I think by this time in this class, I'm hoping y'all have had enough practice of like converting those decimals to percentage. Vice versa. I think we've had a few of them. Okay. Questions about this? I think the only new thing on here was this 8308. Okay, so the 8308 comes from FICA plus income. FICA. So that is coming from 3427.20 plus the 488.81.25. Will give you the 8308.45. And I think the book even rounds them to the nearest dollar. I'm being like pretty precise on mine. So I think the only like sort of new thing they're throwing at you, maybe that they made us crunch numbers on, is this FICA tax. And so what we're doing, and I know I didn't like write it out here, but if I do 7.65% of this number, I'm converting this to a decimal and multiplying by this number. So we have done enough sort of things that look like this. I know I probably skipped a few steps, but you've seen stuff like that before. You should be able to do that. Okay, got it. And so the FICA tax is the new thing in this problem. Everything else, finding the gross income, finding the taxable income, finding those brackets, those are all things from previous problems, right? So definitely you need to practice this at some point, preferably sooner than later. And so if you want the total taxes, we have to add FICA and income. So I think that's about the only new thing is that they're making us do FICA on top of doing income now. That is 49. The next one we have is 53. So this, they want us to calculate FICA. They want us to calculate income tax. They want us to figure out the total tax, and they want us to figure out the tax rate. And so they say that Pierre earns 120K in wages. Katerina earns 120K from dividends and long-term gains. And so right away, if we're figuring out FICA, who can ask? Javier, haven't picked on you yet. Are you still around?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So how do I figure out the FICA for Pierre?
This one is 53.
Yeah, 53.
So I think you got to get the 120,000 in wages.
Uh-huh.
And
you're doing the FICA is 7.65. That's the number you're looking for?
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's the number. And I believe we're just doing that for Pierre. So Pierre is paying that percentage of his income. What about Katerina?
Let's see.
And it's a little bit tricky. If it's FICA and she's earning it from dividends and capital gains, how much does she pay in FICA? And they're trying to be a little tricky. Maybe. Someone's saying it. Yeah, Lena's got your back. Lena says 0. It's 0. So that's the thing. That's the trick they're trying to kind of pull on you here. So since it's from capital gains, they don't pay any FICA. And from wages, you pay your FICA. Okay. And so we want to do taxable income. So this is a thing that is really kind of weird because the taxable income, no, the taxable income is straightforward. It's the next part. The finding the tax is a little bit weird on these guys. And so taxable income, if we do 120K, I think they said in the problem, I believe they did, takes the standard deduction and what does it say? It says they're taking the standard deduction and the standard exemption, I believe, is what it says in the problem. And so if we're taking the standard deduction, standard exemption, that's just those numbers coming from the table. We've done this a few times. We want to subtract both of those numbers from 120. And so for their taxable income, they both have the same amount of taxable income. Okay.
So because she owes nothing, it's the same 109,600.
So now we have to crunch the taxes, right? The next step here is crunching the taxes. So there is a really kind of weird way that they do it for capital gains. It's in the book. It's like a rule. I will look at it in a second. I want to do Pierre's first. Pierre is a more straightforward thing. I want to talk about Pierre. His taxable income is 109,600. And does it say single? I believe they're doing single. They're doing single. So I want to do 109,600. So take this time, write out those brackets. Practice in writing out these brackets. The number I'm looking at is 109,600, and he's filing as single.
Are you asking me still?
I might ask you 3 more questions. I was going to give y'all some time to work through this.
Okay.
Yes, I'm hoping you're writing those brackets out. You're crunching these numbers, getting some practice in.
I have a question.
Sure.
For the very last bracket, you would just subtract his income from the previous one, right?
Yeah, which should be what, 91,900, right? Is what's on there?
Yeah, you don't go all the way up to the,
No.
you don't subtract the income from the 191,650.
Yeah, you don't go up to the 191. You go to the 109,600.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be what, 4 tax brackets that they're falling into on this guy. Are we getting it? Does anybody need more time? More time, less time? Just about the right time? Okay. I think we're getting that much for Pierre. So the 10% goes up to the 93.25. 15% goes up to 37,950. 25, we're going up to that 91,000. Then the last bracket goes up to that amount, 109,600. We're subtracting it from their previous bracket. Now it's just like this is just all PEMDAS number crunching. I think I just gave the number after this. So if we do that number, that calculation correctly, we should be getting 23,669.75. Oh man, I think I might have to pick on Javier one more time. If that's his income tax, what is the total tax that this guy's paying?
Who, Pierre?
Yeah.
I think it is. No, I didn't get that part. I didn't get to that part.
So this is income. What do you got to do with it?
So is it that minus the total down at the bottom?
So you're doing the income tax and you're doing FICA tax is what you're doing for the total tax. So you should be adding those two numbers.
32, yeah, you got it there.
So you get 32,000. Yeah. And then if we want to do this dude's tax rate, it's 32,000 out of, I believe, what was his income? His income was the 120, right? The 120K.
Mm.
So it's that total tax out of his income of 120K. I believe I got a tax rate of somewhere around like 27%. So it should give you like 0.27 when you divide those two numbers. Move it 2 decimal places, should give you 27.37%. So that is that, guys. To find capital gains, that is a little bit of a different beast. So here are the sort of rules to finding capital gains. So we use the same sort of table, but the percentages are different. So it's 0 for 10 and 15. It's 15 for higher brackets except for 39.6. Okay. So how do I use this table? This is 0. 0. So I don't believe we need to go higher than those. Those are both 15. What does it say? Up to 39.6. So pretty much all these are going to get 15. And then anything higher, I believe, gets 20 is how they're doing it. And so if she's doing 100 and her taxable income is 109,600. We're finding it with these rates. And so everything up to 109,600 everything from 0 to 37,950 doesn't get any tax. That's another way to look at it. So I didn't even write that interval there. I guess you could write 0 times something there if you really wanted to. what ends up happening is everything from what 37,950 up until the taxable amount is just going to get 15% tax. And so finding the capital gains is a little bit weird, but it's doable. If we subtract those two numbers, we multiply by 15%. She should be getting taxed something like 10,747. And then if she gets taxed 0 FICA and 10,747.50 for her income, her total tax is 0 plus this number. Make you do them hard calculations. 0 plus 10,747 is going to be 10,747. If we want to know her tax rate, we divide that by how much she made, which is the 120K. She's getting taxed 8.95%. Okay, so this is 53. So the first thing, maybe to take away from this problem, is that if you're making all your stuff in capital gains, you don't have to pay anything for FICA. The next thing is define taxable income. I guess we're taking away what? Standard deduction and the exemption. Another thing to take away is we find capital gains a little bit differently from the way that we find the income, or from wages, right? Sorry. So capital gains get treated a little bit different than wages. They don't get taxed nearly as much, basically, right? What else to take away? The total tax, and I said this a few times, build it on home, FICA plus income tax. We're adding those two taxes to get our total tax. And then if we want to find the tax rate, it's just our total tax over how much we made. Okay. Questions about this one? I think we're moving on. Last problem, 55. More questions. Okay. Yeah, if I'm being completely honest about this, like if I'm gonna do taxes, I'm probably gonna go to like TurboTax. This is way easier. Can you teach us? Well, there's actually that. I think that, like, you think you might be bringing up kind of an interesting point. The tax code is extremely complicated. Like, you literally need probably like degrees in contract law just to understand certain things within the tax code. there is taxation. You get stuff back for it. It's not theft. It's a public service. You go drive on roads. It's not theft. Okay, so it's extremely complicated. There are basically ways to wiggle around the taxes, and people literally like make professions out of doing that, out of telling people with lots of money how to basically move their big stacks of money around to basically keep their money. Yeah. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of corruption that kind of exists within the taxation system. But I also think there is a reason why we do elevated taxes. I think elevated taxes are better than doing flat taxes. There's always that sort of argument, should we do a flat tax? And I think there's a lot of valid sort of reasons to have elevated over flat tax, because there are certain things like bases of expenses and stuff. If you do a flat tax, it is actually what is referred to as a regressive sort of tax. You will actually be taking more of people's disposable income. You take more disposable income from people with lower wages is what ends up happening if you do a flat tax. And you can go look up arguments for that. I'm not trying to like get too political within this class. We're just trying to crunch some numbers here. But I think there's a sort of reason why they do the things that they're doing. I think it's more like the tax exemptions and stuff where people start getting money for things that they questionably should or shouldn't, probably.
And then how about the inability to being able to opt out of Social Security that we're never going to see?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan personally of actuary sort of math. To me, like a lot of this stuff seems like, I don't know, man. It's like, to me, math is about the reasoning approach that you bring to something. And a lot of this stuff like taxation just seems like I'm plugging something into a formula. There is no critical thought behind like solving these taxes. It is all computation of numbers to me. I don't see anything like any sort of like critical thought into doing this sort of thing. And I don't know. So, but at the same time, I don't think it's undoable, right? We can do a little bit of stuff with the taxes, and it will benefit you to sort of understand how these sort of mechanisms sort of work quantitatively. It will give you some sort of insight, I do believe. But it is pretty mechanical from what from my personal take, I feel. We got one last sort of one, 55. Says you are single and you have a taxable income of $18,000. You make monthly contributions of $400 to a tax deferred savings plan. And so this is again one of those sorts of problems. Woo. And so the first thing they want you to sort of figure out is if you're making $18,000, you're going to be in the marginal like 15% tax bracket. Okay. And so we're in the 15% tax bracket. If you're making payments of $400, you're getting a little bit of a break on your taxes. Well, how much of a break on your taxes are you getting? You're getting a $60 break in your taxes. And so if you save $60 on your tax per month, you didn't actually pay $400. You actually paid $340 is what they're trying to get at with this problem. And so what you're actually paying is $340.
So those tax breaks don't really benefit you in the long run.
It's just, I mean, this is like this is one of those like budgeting questions. It depends like what your budget is, sort of thing. But this might be one of those things that makes you either like, you know, buy the car or not buy the car. It might be one of those things, you know, makes you make the purchase or not make the purchase, right? It's like, can I really afford this? Well, I can't afford $400, but I can afford $340. Okay. But I don't know. I don't personally look at my budgeting that way, to be honest. I don't count on my taxes this close. If I couldn't afford $400, I would not be paying $340 for something, to be honest. There's not a lot of difference between those two numbers to make me comfortable. But you do get a little bit of a little bit of break on your taxes is what they're trying to get at here.
Is this our last class?
Yeah, that'll be it.
So we're just doing the test on Wednesday, like during our normal class time. Did you guys decide on that yet?
Yeah, so it should be up there by Wednesday.
Okay.
And this is the last problem we're going over.
For the test, I think we're going to have it open all of Wednesday. If you want to take it in the evening, you can choose to do that. You can take it earlier, but both of us are going to have office hours. That's what we discussed at the beginning. I'll have my office hours from 3 to 4 o'clock. His office hours will be from 4 to, I think you said 5:30, right?
Yeah, 4 to 5:30.
All right, yeah, so basically you guys, you know, if you do have questions, then wait, because there's that 2.5 hours of window time where you can ask us questions about whatever before you take that test. And of course, if you're ready to take it, you can just take it in, you know, the early hours if you want. That's fine.
Okay, I'm leaving. Get a pair of shorts and I'll help you put them on.
Do you, it's kind of a weird question, maybe, I don't know. Do you know why like the capital taxes are lower than the wage tax?
Don't we?
Is there a reason for that? Like, is there a good reason for that? I guess is what I should say, not is there a reason. I'm sure I could find.
You're asking the wrong. You're asking the wrong person on that.
Yeah,
one.
I don't know. Like, and there is a sort of like there is an inverse correlation if you look at people how they make their money off of wages or capital. If you make your money off of wages, you typically do all your money working. If you make your wages off of capital, you typically don't do a whole lot.
But isn't the reason part of it at least being that capital gains are subject to fluctuation between, you know, shareholder pricing and things like that, whereas wages will be relatively the same?
I don't know. I don't think. But typically, if you make your money in capital gains, you're making like way more money than anybody can make with wages. Like
right, but it's all subject to the market.
Yeah, it is subject to fluctuation more probably, but I don't know because labor is a market too, and that fluctuates as well. It pretty much just goes down for the most part, but that has fluctuation too. I guess it's probably less prone to fluctuation.
You pay attention next time.
Okay. Okay. So if there are any questions, I'm here for questions, but I think that pretty much covers 4E.
That was a big one, man.
It is long.
I think, what question was it you got to at the end? 53? That one, that's a big one. In the activity, hopefully everybody has been working on the activities. That was that last page of the activity, and I remember going through it, and it's just, there's a lot of steps going on, like on that page. The most important stuff, which you did several of the problems here, it's going to be that whole step system that we've got, like figuring out, yeah, there's 22 right there. And if you do watch the video, I make a little mention towards the end. You don't see much of this, but I make a mention somewhere that be very careful that you look at the right column. Okay, it ended up, I don't think it was that last page problem. There's a, and I'm getting all my stuff mixed up here. What page was it? Man, there's a problem somewhere. Let me see if I can find out which one it was. I don't know. I lost track of it. But there was a question somewhere, and I ended up just looking at the wrong column. Like I even mentioned at the beginning when I started, like, all right, oh, I know what it is. It's not the activity, it's the review. When I was recording the review, so you might not have seen that one yet. But when I do the review, I make a comment at the beginning. I'm like, all right, these people they're married, they're filing jointly. All right, so it's going to be the second column. Then I start working out the problem. And later on, I realized that I took all the numbers from the first column, even though I said it in the video that I should have done it from the second. Okay, so you don't end up seeing that part in the video. I paused, I went and like broke some stuff. Then I came back to it and I redid the problem. I didn't actually break anything, but I realized, like, oh my God, I took all the numbers from the wrong column. So take that as a caution to everybody. Once you know what column you're looking at for the problem, go ahead and like circle that one or scribble out the things you don't need.
Yeah, because I think on your test you only have like probably one problem, right? On like income or something.
Yeah, exactly. The test is only going to be one problem that's like that, because we can't give you a test that's over and over again of this. Remember, you got all your you got your loan payment plan stuff, you've got your savings plan things, you got your simple, your compound interest. The test does not have that many questions on it, which I think is cool. It does not have that many questions on it. All the formulas are provided for you. It does not have that many problems on there, and even those problems don't have many parts to them. So there's a positive in there that there isn't a lot of things that you have to do, but be very careful that you do the problems right. And I think I mentioned a lot in the review too, that the review video, that is, like, make sure that you write out your formulas. Let me see everything that you plan to do for your calculation, just in case something goes wrong when you type it in. Because at least if I have it written out right, if, you know, it's something, I don't know how much like partial credit I can give you for it, but, you know, if you've got it all set up for me, I can give you, and it looks nice that way. It's just the final calculations is off. You should get the majority of the partial credit. So just be very careful about things. Choose the right columns, choose the right formulas, write down enough information that I know you know what you're trying to do with the problem. And it makes it easy for me to grade too, which I definitely appreciate. I've said that 100 times. I don't think I got anything on test corrections for the last test. So if